Hey guys, how's it going? So today I'm gonna show you everything I got on my plant haul from Proven Winners. It just arrived last night. I got a bunch of really cool perennials that I'm so excited to share with you. I've got Sutton and Arden here helping me unload the pallets. I've got 2 pallets here, lots of plants. Let's go. Okay, so Sutton and I actually unloaded all of these plants. We are done. Let me show you my haul. Okay, so for starters here, this is gonna be the season of planting heucheras and heucherellas because I loaded up. I went a little heavy on the foliage. I wanna add a little more solid color to the beds. I do love a good bloom, but I feel like I want more seasonal color with foliage. And so I went a little heavier on heucheras and heucherellas to add that color and texture to the borders. So first up, we've got heucherella, grows in part shade to shade, 8 to 10 inches tall, hardy to zones 4 to 9, and minimum spacing is 16 inches. So I am not totally sure where I'm putting this one yet, but I think it might be going in either the pool garden or the cottage garden. I don't know, I'm gonna walk around and see where it's gonna look best. But it gets these little pretty pink blooms, and you really cannot beat the veining foliage on this plant. It's really gonna brighten up a shadier spot. Next up, we've got this gorgeous heucherella called Red Rover. Look at that amazing foliage. Isn't that beautiful? It's really gonna add a lot of texture and mood to the garden. I personally love heucheras and heucherellas in the fall in particular because you can get that fall color without having to go in on chrysanthemums just yet. But anyway, this one grows in part shade to shade, It grows only about 6 to 8 inches tall, also hardy from 4 to 9. Spacing is 18 inches, maximum 20 inches, and it blooms in late spring. So next up, we've got Heuchera. This is ball gown. This one also grows in part shade to shade. It gets to be about 10 to 12 inches tall, hardy from zones 4 to 9. We're going to space it about 24 inches apart, and really look at that foliage color. It's going to brighten up those shady spots with that lime chartreuse green color, and it's going to really add a lot to your border, whether it's blooming or not. This one blooms in early summer, and it gets these like almost like frothy white little blooms. So if you want to add color and not have to worry about your blooms, like look no further than the Heuchera Primo Wild Rose. Look at this beautiful pinky purple veining foliage. How gorgeous is that? This one grows in sun to shade to about 8 to 10 inches tall, hardy from zones 4 to 9, spaced 26 inches apart, and it blooms in midsummer. And that's really one of the great things about heucheras and heucherellas. You can really span their blooms and extend the bloom time by planting different varieties. So this one is going to add lots of color, and think about what this is going to look like in the fall too. If you planted some beautiful marigolds or something around it, that's going to look really festive fall. Or even in the spring, you can go with lots of pinks and pretty blues, and you'd have a nice calm and serene garden. Just a beautiful border plant. And I know this one looks like the last one, but trust me, it is different. This one is Dolce Wildberry. It's going to grow a little bit bigger, but give you the same bang for your buck with the foliage. Foliage is a little bit bigger, a little bit bolder, and just gorgeous. Does well in sun, does well in shade, so it's really, really versatile. Great in the border. Also hardy, zones 4 to 9, blooms in early summer. Space it about 16 to 20 inches apart. So here we've got another beautiful heucherella. I chose this one for this foliage. Look at how beautiful it is with the little bit of white and the pretty little edging on it. Really, really gorgeous. This one grows in part shade to shade, 10 to 12 inches in height, and zone 4 to 9. Space it 16 inches apart, and it blooms in late spring. Last of the heucheras is Mahogany Monster. Look at how pretty the foliage is on this one. Oh my goodness. It's almost like a rosy pink, and it's gonna look so pretty with like pink flowers, white flowers. I'm definitely seeing this one in the cottage garden. So this one also does well in sun to shade, grows 12 to 16 inches tall, space it about 22 inches apart, hardy from zones 4 to 9, and blooms in midsummer. So I never met a hosta that I didn't like. This is Shadowland Hope Springs Eternal, and look at that foliage. So it's got almost like rippled scalloped edges on it. Really beautiful plant. This one's gonna be huge. So it gets to be about 22 inches tall, but spacing is 47 inches apart. It's hardy from zones 3 to 9, blooms in midsummer, really gorgeous. I'm a huge fan of hostas. Hummingbirds love them. They do well in my garden. My only issue with hostas are the deer. I do spray them with a repellent to keep them away, and that does work well. So this is just gorgeous with the variegated foliage, and I think this one is going in the backyard Zen garden. Okay, next up, really, really beautiful leucanthemum. This is Daisy Duke. It's a Shasta daisy. This one is hardy, zones 5 to 9. It grows 12 to 24 inches tall. The spread is about 10 to 14 inches. You get these beautiful white flowers. It's a really compact plant, needs full sun, and I would have it in at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight. Oh my gosh, you guys, look at how beautiful this tall garden phlox is. This one is called Opening Act Pinka Dot. Look at those beautiful pink flowers. Isn't it so pretty? So we are talking height of 22 to 26 inches. The spread though, 30 to 36 inches. So make sure you give this one room. Hardy from zones 4 to 8. It grows well in full sun to part shade. I would lean in my growing zone, I would definitely lean a little more full sun. Beautiful flowering plant, great in your cottage garden or middle to back of the border. Next up is one of my favorites, Nepeta. This is Cat's Meow. It needs full sun, grows to be about 17 to 20 inches, gets these beautiful purple flowers. I have a few different varieties of Nepeta through my property. One of the easiest plants to grow, minimum spacing 24 inches, hardy from zones 3 to 8. It blooms in early summer, but if you cut it back halfway, you can get a second set of blooms. This one needs full sun and it does not love wet feet, so make sure you keep it in well-draining soil. Look at how beautiful this phlox is. So this is Luminary Pink Lightning. It needs full sun, grows to be 30 to 36 inches tall, so really good for the middle to back of the border. Will look amazing in the cottage garden. Look at those beautiful pink flowers. I mean, isn't that awesome? I love this one. So it is zoned 3 to 8, minimum plant spacing 24 inches apart. It blooms mid to late summer, and I think this one's going by the cottage. Next up, we've got this gorgeous penstemon. Oh wow, this is Bejeweled Pink Pearls. This one thrives in full sun, only grows to be about 16 to 20 inches tall, but wow, look at those pretty flowers. Look at how pretty that's gonna be. Isn't that beautiful? So hardy in zones 4 to 8, minimum spacing 20 inches. This one blooms in late spring to early summer. It is a pollinator friendly plant. Deer also love to browse, so it will definitely need protection. Next up, we've got one of my personal favorites. This is Salvia. It's pink profusion. It grows in full sun, 14 to 16 inches high, hardy in zones 3 to 8. Minimum spacing is 16 inches, blooms in late spring, early summer. You can trim it back after it's done flowering to get a second set of blooms. Really beautiful color. I thought this would go really well in the cottage garden as well. Which cottage garden? I don't know yet, but it's definitely going in one. Okay, next up, we've got another beautiful phlox. This one is Luminary Prismatic Pink, grows in full sun. This one gets to be really tall, so back of the border, 32 to 34 inches in height, hardy from zones 3 to 8, and spacing is minimum 24 inches. This one blooms in mid to late summer. Look at how pretty those flowers are gonna be. I had a bunch of phlox in my former garden, and I really don't have many here, so this is gonna be a great addition to the bed. New to me in my garden is Meadow Rue. This one is Cotton Candy. It's gonna get these beautiful pink flowers, needs full sun to part shade. I'm really excited about this one. I wanna learn. This is my first experience with it, and I'm not sure where we're going yet, but so it gets pretty tall. We're talking 38 to 42 inches. So in the back of the border, minimum spacing 18 to 24 inches, hardy in zones 5 to 8, and blooms in late spring. I'm psyched. So next up, we've got Rockin' Round Pure Joy Sedum. I am a huge fan of sedum, and I really can't wait to plant this one. This is great for the front of the border, needs full sun, gets to be about 10 to 12 inches tall, hardy, zones 3 to 9, minimum spacing about 16 inches apart, blooms late summer through early fall, but you just can't beat sedums. I love them. I've got several different varieties in my garden, and now I'm adding to my collection. So here we have a beautiful ornamental grass. This one's gonna grow to be 3 feet tall, 1.5 feet wide, hardy from zones 4 to 9. This one is called Cheyenne Sky, and the foliage color gets these like shades of purple, needs full sun, but once you get it established, it's drought tolerant, really beautiful. And the fun thing about grasses is it adds some movement to your garden. I quite frankly don't have enough grasses in my gardens, and so I really kind of wanted to start focusing a little bit more on what they look like in fall and get this additional movement and texture in the garden. Another beautiful grass is Prairie Winds Apache Rose. Panicum virgatum needs full sun. This one's going to grow really tall, 48 inches tall, so make sure you give it a little bit of room. Spacing is 30 inches apart, hardy in zones 4 to 9, and gets the beautiful grassy fronds in late summer. Quite a haul, right? Well, I am gonna get these placed in the gardens. You know, it's funny. I tend to buy more plants and figure out where they're gonna go later. This one's gonna be a fun one. I never met a plant I didn't like. So stay tuned to see where I place everything. I'll share that in the next video. Enjoy a beautiful day.